Magic is as mysterious as mathematics, as empirical as poetry, as uncertain as golf, and as dependent on the personal equations of love. Aleister Crowley. I am not a Thelemite, and Aleister Crowley engaged in numerous activities that I would consider non-ideal, but he was an interesting combination of brilliant and funny. When he wasn't writing poetry on his animalistic licentious desires, he was busy talking to the gods and goddesses of Egypt and writing profound little gems, like the quotation we're looking at right now. Evidently, Lon Milo Duquette thought this quote was quite the keeper also, for he employed it to springboard seekers into his beautiful book, Enochian Magick, a practical guide to the magic of Dr. John Dee and Edward Kelley. In today's video, I am presenting a thoroughly informative yet emotionally stimulating ultimate introduction to Enochian Magick, the angelic language that Dr. John Dee and Edward Kelley discovered through a series of scrying experiments in the 16th century. Enochian Magick by Lon Milo Duquette is a comprehensive blueprint for understanding and practicing Enochian Magick. So we are using it as a quote-unquote textbook for today's video. This is the ultimate introduction to Enochian Magick and the language of angels. First off, this form of magic, this level of magic, is for grounded people who take a sane approach to the occult. Your physical eyes see the physical world. Your third eye sees the spiritual world. That being said, if you're seeing demons walking down the street, then you're doing it wrong. You are a tree. To grow tall, you must also dig deep. The higher your branches, the lower your roots must go, or your tree will fall. So let's establish our sanity before we go any further. Angels. What are angels? Angels are angles of light, intelligent angles of light, which reveal themselves to people often in the archetypical forms that the human in question is most comfortable seeing. A person coming from a Western Christian background may see this. A meticulous tech wizard who views the world in code may see this. Those with a more Eastern mentality may see this. All of these archetypes are subjective. They are the human, relative interpretations of an absolute reality. Subjective interpretations, however, are not wrong. You will likely experience unseen forces through a variety of subjective lenses. That's good. We as humans must break these concepts down in our own minds to understand them, and then apply them on the physical plane of existence. But keep this in mind also, due to the nature of your humanity, something as simple as what you had for dinner last night may alter the subjective lens that you are looking through. Angels have revealed themselves to me in many forms and in many shapes and sizes. I am an open person, so I flow with many of the things that come my way. I speak with winged creatures, I spiral around pillars made of brilliant light, and I vibrate into vivid, vibrant triangles. I stay sane by maintaining the understanding that all of my subjective experiences are merely projections of an underlying absolute reality. And when I say absolute, I am referring to the all, the ineffable pure source of everything that is woven into everything. The absolute is behind all subjective experiences, but the all is ineffable, meaning too great or extreme to be expressed or described in words. So your highest and truest encounters cannot be verbalized. Many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you encounter absolute realities, it is simply ineffable. Ineffable, what a great word, cannot be effed. A more objective description of an angel is a vibrating triangle transmitting intelligence. And guess what? This vibrating triangle that is transmitting intelligence is in you. It's a channel within yourself that you are evoking and communicating with. When you perform a ritual, you are the only person who sees the shapes you are drawing and the angles of light within you that you are communicating with. Ceremonial magic is much more Jungian psychology than it is mystical. And if this message resonates with you, touching the tip of your wand to the like button will send that resonance right back to me. You can also subscribe. Whoa, if one video resonates, I wonder what hundreds more like it will do. To get a firm grip on a sane approach to what we call magic before we dive into the angelic details of the magic we call Enochian, let's see what Lan Milo de Ket has to say in an excerpt from the prologue of his book, Enochian Vision Magic. Begin quote. I'm a magician. I practice the art of ceremonial magic. I adore and invoke the essence of highest deity and hold congress with divine angels. I also evoke and command spirits and demons. Ceremonial magic is the path I have chosen to give expression to the spiritual yearnings I believe are inherent in every human being. It is my Tao, my way, my religion, my philosophy, my psychology. But ceremonial magic isn't my life. I already have a life, thank you, but I use magic to help make my life magic. I have closets and chests full of bizarre and colorful robes and crowns and wands and daggers and chalices and swords and lances and thuribles and banners and veils and rings and incense and candles and oils and tablets and talismans and mirrors and crystals. I have books, strange books, some very old and rare, books that would scare the daylights out of most of my neighbors. I use these magical tools. I study these books in order to perform the rites of ceremonial magic. These things are not my life, but I use them to make my life magic. On the surface, one might think it reasonable and fair to ask, why are you a magician? Why do you believe in this stuff? Why do you do these crazy things? It might surprise you to know I don't have a proper answer to these questions. It is impossible for me to adequately explain or justify why I celebrate my spiritual life through the vehicle of magic. For the same reasons, it is impossible for any artist to properly explain why he or she has taken up the brush or the chisel or the violin or ballet slippers. If reasonableness were the sole criterion for the existence of art, there would be no music, no dance, no magic. Make no mistake about it, magic is an art form, and every true magician is an artist. Just like the musician and dancer, the magician must practice, create, and perform. Just like the painter or sculptor, he or she must be armed with the proper tools, skills, knowledge, and most of all, inspiration. But what about people who've never learned to play a musical instrument, never learned to dance or paint or sculpt, yet who find themselves spiritually touched by listening to music, watching ballet, and visiting galleries? Are they not artists too? In a very important way, I believe they are. As quantum physicists tell us, both the observer and that which is observed are changed by the act of observation itself. By appreciating the artist's handiwork, we are fundamentally affecting the reality and life of that creation. More importantly, when we expose ourselves to the artist's creation, we enjoy the passive luxury of allowing our consciousness to be altered, elevated, and enriched in unique and personal ways the artist might never have imagined. The art of ceremonial magic, however, is a little different. There is no painted canvas to display, no audience to applaud. Regardless of how altruistic the magician's motives may be, magic is spiritual performance art that must ultimately be executed and appreciated by the magician alone. He or she is at once the teacher, the student, the medium, the conductor, the performer, the venue, the audience, and the critic. The magician touches the broader audience of humanity only by affecting changes in the magician. And success can be weighed only in the silent holy of holies in his or her own soul. End quote. Now that we're grounded, this is how the angelic language was discovered. In 1582, John Dee and Edward Kelley embarked on a series of mystical experiments to contact divine beings. Dee, a respected scholar with interests that span from mathematics to astrology, sought a deeper understanding of the divine and the workings of the universe. Together with Edward Kelley, a scryer with clairvoyant abilities, began a series of angelic conversations. These conversations were facilitated through a crystal ball and a black obsidian mirror, in which Kelley would see visions and communicate with angels. The angels revealed a complex and systematic language to Dee and Kelley. This was the language used by the angels. This language comprised of its own alphabet, syntax, and grammar. The angelic language is distinctive and complex. It consists of 21 letters and is written from right to left. This system also includes magical tablets, each corresponding to a specific element, such as earth, air, fire, and water. These tablets contain grids of letters. The use of these tablets, alongside the angelic calls or keys, which are special incantations, forms the basis of this magic that we now call Enochian. Following Dee and Kelley, Enochian magic largely faded into obscurity until it experienced a revival among occult circles in the 19th and 20th centuries. I would like to note that John Dee and Edward Kelley did not name their system of angel magic Enochian Magick. This title was coined later by others who studied and practiced their work. Dee and Kelley referred to their practices as angelic conversations or actions with spirits. The term Enochian is derived from the biblical figure Enoch, a patriarchal figure with legendary status as a man who walked with God and was taken up to heaven. However, it was only in later centuries, particularly in the 19th and 20th centuries, when occultists and scholars studying Dee and Kelley's diaries and records began to refer to their system as Enochian Magick. It was during the resurgence of interest in occult and mystical practices, especially within groups like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, that the term Enochian Magick became widely used to describe Dee and Kelley's system. This period saw a re-evaluation and revival of their work, with practitioners and scholars attributing the name Enochian to emphasize its connection to the ancient patriarch Enoch and the mystical traditions associated with him. Before we dive even further, let us briefly examine Enoch and his ascent to the archangel Metatron, an archangel many of you may already be familiar with. Metatron, not Megatron. The transformation of Enoch into Metatron is a fascinating narrative woven through various mystical texts and traditions, particularly within Jewish mysticism. Enoch is a biblical figure, appearing briefly in the book of Genesis as a great-grandfather of Noah, renowned for his piety and for being one of the few characters who, according to the text, did not die but was taken by God. And Metatron is a figure in Jewish mystical texts, notably the Talmud and Kabbalistic writings, known as a powerful archangel and a scribe of God. In my guided LBRP video, we evoke Metatron in addition to the 4 elemental archangels. Metatron is the archangel of Kether, spirit, our higher awareness. So including this force has tremendous amplification power. In Genesis 5, verse 24, it's stated that Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more, because God took him away. This passage has led to much speculation and interpretation over the years. The Book of Enoch, this apocryphal text, not included in the canonical Hebrew Bible, but part of the Ethiopian Orthodox canon, expands on Enoch's story. It portrays him as a man who is taken to heaven and given insights into the workings of the universe, both physical and divine. In Jewish mysticism, particularly in the Merkaba and later Kabbalistic traditions, there is a narrative that Enoch was transformed into the archangel Metatron. This is not explicitly stated in canonical scriptures, but is a theme developed in mystical texts. Metatron is often depicted as a celestial scribe, recording the deeds of humanity. He is also sometimes referred to as the Lesser Yod-Vavhe, a term indicating his high status in the divine hierarchy, but still subordinate to God. The symbolism and significance of the transformation lies in the concept of bridging the divine and the human. Enoch's transformation is symbolic of the potential for human beings to attain a high spiritual status. His ascension represents the elevation of human nature to the divine. As Metatron, Enoch becomes a bridge between the divine and the earthly realms. He embodies the idea that divine wisdom and understanding can be attained by humans. Enoch spoke angelic. He walked with God and ascended into an archangel. He was one of the first notable figures to successfully commune with angels, but this is not Enoch's language. This is the language of the angels. Enochian Magick is often considered the most true-to-source way of communicating with angels, and many of the ceremonies that came out of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn are meant to prepare a person for Enochian Magick. Communicating with angels in their language is the zenith of angel magic. We as humans like to put things in boxes, and then we like to stamp labels on those boxes. This has its upsides and downsides. Putting an esoteric concept into a box and then labeling the box allows us to better understand said concept. This is all well and good as long as we are aware of the fact that we can't actually put divinity in a box. If you are on this journey, you will likely assemble a multitude of boxes. If you're doing it right, assembling a multitude of boxes will eventually lead you to connecting those boxes. Once you have connected those boxes, you will then feel secure to take the next steps and open them. Enochian Magick is opening the boxes. It's a level you will surely ascend to with practice, but it's an undertaking I do not recommend trying until you have gone through a long list of fundamental energy balancing practices. Interesting and mildly funny though, once you open these boxes, you will then go on to assembling new ones, higher ones, until you have mastered the higher ones and opened them just like you have done with the boxes on the lower planes of your understanding. Send your right brain out into the universe to download this information. Use your left brain to further understand this information. Use your body to apply this information, and then start again. Fall in love with the journey, for you will always be on it. Members of the Golden Dawn, including notable figures such as Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers, William Wynne Westcott, and Aleister Crowley, were deeply invested in the works of D.N. Kelley. Through their writings, teachings, and practices, they significantly contributed to the revival of interest in D.N. Kelley's work, and helped frame it within the broader context of Western esoteric tradition. Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers was a pivotal figure in the revival of occultism in the late 19th century. He was a co-founder of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Mathers and other members of the Golden Dawn incorporated Enochian Magick into their ceremonial practices. Aleister Crowley, perhaps one of the most infamous figures in modern occultism, Crowley was a member of the Golden Dawn before founding his own magical order, the AA. Crowley took a great interest in Enochian Magick and expanded upon its practices. He claims to have received revelations and used Enochian calls during various magical operations. Dion Fortune, a British occultist and member of the Golden Dawn, Fortune was known for her writings on magical topics. While less directly involved with Enochian Magick, her works influenced later practitioners who integrated Enochian concepts into their practices. Jack Parsons, an American rocket engineer and occultist. Parsons was deeply influenced by Crowley's teachings and practiced Enochian Magick. His esoteric practices intersected with his pioneering work in rocketry, reflecting a unique blend of science and the occult. Now, despite its allure and historical significance in the realm of occult practices, Enochian Magick has been met with various warnings and cautions from both practitioners and critics. The intricate and powerful nature of this system, which communicates directly with angelic beings, makes it a subject of both reverence and concern. One of the primary warnings revolves around the complexity of Enochian Magick. It's not just about reciting incantations or using symbols. It involves a deep understanding of its intricate system, including the Enochian language, the structure of its magical tablets, and the precise execution of rituals. Inexperienced practitioners might unintentionally misuse these elements, leading to unintended and potentially harmful consequences. Psychological impact is another consideration. Engaging in intense esoteric practices like Enochian Magick can have significant psychological impacts. The deep trance states and altered consciousness often sought in these practices can lead to disorientation, detachment from reality, or psychological distress, especially those not well prepared or mentally resilient. Spiritual dangers. Some warn of the spiritual risks associated with Enochian Magick, citing the potential for contacting malevolent or deceptive entities masquerading as angels. This is a common caution in many forms of spiritual or occult practice, where discernment is advised in dealing with non-physical entities. Although Crowley was a proponent and practitioner of Enochian Magick, he also acknowledged its dangers. He warned about the risks associated with its practice, emphasizing the need for proper mental and spiritual preparation. Crowley's own experiences, which he documented extensively, included encounters with powerful and often overwhelming spiritual entities. Various contemporary practitioners have echoed these sentiments, warning against the casual or uninformed practice of Enochian Magick. They often stress the importance of understanding the historical, cultural, and theoretical background of this system before attempting its practice. That's why I made this video. As with any serious occult practice, a thorough understanding, respect for the tradition, and awareness of one's own mental and spiritual state are essential before delving into the mysteries of the angelic language. Moving on to the elements and tools. This system involves a variety of elements and tools, each serving a specific purpose in the ritual practices. Central to Enochian Magick is its unique alphabet. This script is used in various aspects of the practice, from inscribing on tools to reciting calls or keys. Beyond the alphabet, the angelic language itself, with its own grammar and syntax, is used in incantations and invocations. Magical diaries, keeping a detailed record of all magical workings, including visions, entities contacted, and results of rituals, is essential in Enochian Magick. Scrying tools such as crystal balls or black obsidian mirrors. Magical circles and squares. These are often inscribed with names of God, angels, and angelic letters, serving as protective boundaries and sacred spaces for rituals. Enochian tablets. These are 4 large tablets, also known as Watchtowers or Great Tablets, corresponding to the 4 classical elements: earth, air, fire, water. Each tablet is a grid containing letters from the Enochian alphabet, representing various angelic beings. Sigillum Dia Almeth, a complex magical seal often used as a pedestal for the Scrying stone. Enochian Keys, or calls. These are a series of incantations in the Enochian language used to invoke and command angels. Robes and ritual garments. These are often specific to the ritual and may be inscribed with Enochian script and symbols. The Holy Table or Table of Practice, a table with specific symbols and names used as a focal point for angelic interactions. At a certain point in our history, science and magic diverged. They used to be the same thing. Humans interested in science were also interested in the esoteric side of things. John Dee was one of those humans. He was a very important figure to the occult sciences and still is today. Same with Edward Kelley. John Dee was a noted scholar, astronomer, astrologer, and mathematician of the Elizabethan era and played a significant role in the court of Queen Elizabeth I. His contributions, however, extended beyond the conventional scholarly realm into the mystical and esoteric, which included practices that many contemporaries considered magical. Dee was a trusted astrologer to Queen Elizabeth I. He provided counsel on international affairs, utilizing his extensive knowledge of geography and his skills in navigation. He was involved in planning voyages for exploration and advising on colonial expansion, contributing to the early formation of the British Empire. His expertise in mathematics and navigation significantly influenced the education and training of English navigators. He advocated for the expansion of scientific knowledge and was also sought for occult and spiritual matters. One of the most famous stories about Dee involves his prediction of the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588. According to legend, Dee foresaw that a great storm would scatter the Spanish fleet, leading to England's victory. Dee predicting the defeat of the Spanish Armada through a storm, whether true or not, encapsulates the aura that surrounded him, a figure of both scholarly repute and mystical power. This story, while lacking direct historical evidence, fits well within the narrative of Dee as a master astrologer capable of foreseeing and influencing great events. Dee also had interests in alchemy, the pursuit of turning base metals into gold, and the search for the philosopher's stone. John Dee's life and work straddled the line between the emerging scientific disciplines and the mystical traditions of the Renaissance period. His contributions to Queen Elizabeth's court were both practical and esoteric, blending his extensive scholarly knowledge with his interests in astrology, alchemy, and angelic magic. In regards to discovering the angelic language, he brought the mind of a cryptographer to the table. Now, Edward Kelley, John Dee's scrying partner, led a life that was as enigmatic and controversial as it was influential in the realm of esoteric and alchemical studies. Edward Kelley's early life is shrouded in mystery, but he is believed to have been born in Worcester, England, around 1555. Kelley's initial foray into the occult world began with his interest in alchemy, a pursuit that was part mystical and part scientific. Kelley met Dee in the early 1580s, and they quickly formed a partnership. Dee was already deeply interested in the occult, and he had been searching for a skilled scryer or medium to assist in his spiritual experiments. Kelley had the ability to communicate with angels through crystal balls and black obsidian mirrors. He became Dee's principal scryer, and together they embarked on the adventure that we're talking about now. Edward Kelley was the vision guy. Kelley's visions and communications were crucial in the development of Enochian Magick. His descriptions of the angelic language and the complex hierarchies of the angelic realm formed the basis of this unique system. The combination of John Dee's intellect and Edward Kelley's visions made receiving this angelic language possible. John Dee was an intellectual. He intellectualized the occult. Being an intellectual, heavily identifying with mind can be a double-edged sword. Intellect will allow a person to understand something, but intellect is often the very thing that will prevent that same person from having a mystical experience. If we're always trying to figure something out, we will miss out on many of the profound messages that come to us in colors, sounds, feelings, and compact downloads. Dee struggled in this area, which is where Edward Kelley came in. Kelley was a feeler, a seer. Having said that, combining our intellect with our ability to just be is a very important balance to strike in order to maximize our effectiveness on this journey. Great, so now, how do we learn and practice this? As I mentioned earlier, Lon Milo Duquette's book is a really good, comprehensive blueprint that will save you a lot of time. If you read this book, you will essentially have all the information you need to successfully perform Enochian vision magic. I have an Amazon link to it in the pinned comment below. When it comes to my personal practice in this area, my communication with angels in the angelic language, at least for right now, is from myself and I alone. The angelic language is very sacred to me. I create guided ceremonies, and then I post them on the internet. Doing that, even talking about the ceremonies I practice, it does scatter my energy to a degree. It puts my energy field on display where it is then open to opinions and judgments. I love creating guided ceremonies and I shall continue doing so, but as it stands, currently I am keeping my Enochian practice private. Lon Milo Duquette, however, was open enough to write a whole book on this process, and I will read his preparation ceremony to you right now. A portion of this covers chanting in the angelic language. Due to the powerful and oftentimes precarious nature of this language, I am not going to vocalize these chants today, simply because just hearing them could evoke something wild in a new magician that they may not be ready for, but I will present these chants on the screen so you know what they are. Begin quote. In the middle of the night, it's 3:43 a.m. I've been up for about a half an hour, bathing, dressing, and preparing myself to operate. In just a few minutes, I will turn off the computer here in my office, take up my almond wand, and go into the darkened living room. There, I will quietly perform the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, light 2 tapered candles, and sit down before the holy table. Once comfortably seated, I will close my eyes and pray. Teach me, O Creator of all things, to have correct knowledge and understanding, for your wisdom is all that I desire. Speak your word in my ear, O Creator of all things, and set your wisdom in my heart. Amen. I will then open my eyes, take the golden ring, and quietly recite the prayer of the ring. Behold the ring, lo, this is it, wherewith all miracles and divine works and wonders were wrought by Solomon. This is it, which the archangel Michael has revealed to me. This is it, which philosophy dreameth of. This is it, which the angels scarce know. This is it, and blessed be his name. Yea, his name be blessed forever. Without this, I shall do nothing. Blessed be his name that encompasses all things. Wonders are in him, and his name is wonderful. His name works wonders from generation to generation. Amen. I will put on the ring and then take up the golden layman that is attached to the black ribbon. Before putting it around my neck, I will again pray. Behold the layman, as the holy table consolates heaven and earth. Let this layman which I place over my heart consolate me to the holy table. Amen. I will then take up my almond wand, reach across the holy table, tap the upper right-hand corner, and begin to chant. As I do so, I will move the tip of the wand from right to left, along the far edge of the table, and chant. Then, moving the tip of the wand down the left edge of the table, I will continue to chant. Then, moving from left to right along the bottom edge. Then up the right-hand edge to finish where I started. I will repeat this entire procedure 6 more times, each time increasing the intensity of my focus on the words and movements. When I've completed the 7th round of chanting, I will hold the wand over the center of the table and chant 7 rounds of the following. Then I will trace a circle over the center of the table and say, 7 rest in 7, and the 7 live by 7. The 7 govern the 7, and by the 7 all government is. Finally, I will place the tip of my wand upon the center of my forehead and whisper. The chanting will take about 18 minutes, but then I will have chanted myself into an altered state of consciousness. I'll be high as a kite and struggling to avoid drifting into a directionless rapture. I will no longer be the overweight knot of worries and vices that haunts the daylight world of bills and phone calls and deadlines, vampires of time. I will be a magician, a key player in the business of creation, a spiritual being occupying my own indispensable rung on a hierarchical ladder of spiritual beings. Gods, archangels, and angels, spirits and demons, spiritual entities who personify in metaphoric technicolor every natural force, every monad of energy, every atom of matter, every concept and principle, potentiality and tendency in the visible and invisible cosmos. My living room will disappear, and in its place will tower the temple of the universe, holy ground demarcated by a consecrated carpet of red silk, upon which rests the holy table, the center of the universe, the holy of holies, where heaven touches earth. The table is completely veiled by a red silk cloth, with its gold tassels that hang from each corner. The cloth conceals an elaborately painted and engraved tabletop, the perimeter of which is carved with 84 squares containing letters from a sacred angelic alphabet. Letters whose names I chanted in the angelic tongue during my 7 rounds of chanting. A large carved hexagram spans the entire inner surface of the tabletop, and in the center of the hexagram broods a large rectangle made of 12 squares, each containing an oversized angelic letter, the same letters whose names I chanted during the 2nd round of chanting, artfully carved into the surface of the table. 7 talismans, ensigns of creation, are arrayed around the central rectangle. They are made of purified tin and are lettered in the angelic script. The centerpiece of the holy table is the Sigillum Dei Ameth, a wax disc approximately 9 inches in diameter and 1.5 inches thick, bearing the carved image of a complex diagram consisting of an interlocked heptagram, 2 heptagons, a pentagram, and an array of numbers and letters which, when decoded, spell the names of 7 sets of 7 divine beings. 7 who rest in 7, 7 who live by 7, the 7 who govern the 7, and 7 by whom all government is. 4 smaller waxed versions of the sigillum, wrapped in red silk bags, rest under the legs of the holy table, insulating it from distracting geocurrents. The chanting completed, I will unveil a circular black mirror made of highly polished obsidian. I have it placed in a stand directly upon the covered Sigillum Dei Ameth, and I will carefully angle it so I see my dimly lit face reflected in its pool of deep blackness. After only a few moments, the reflection of my face will disappear, and I will see with magic eyes and hear with magic ears. Now, the vision magic begins. In the middle of the night, I will call upon the angels, and they will answer. End quote. Thank you for watching.